Thank you everyone for tuning in today for our virtual history series talk that the museum has in partnership with North Baltimore Public Library. Today's talk is by Daniel Hergert, and he is going to be talking on the subject of rolling with Jesus. And we would, of course, like to thank our sponsors of our virtual history series talk, Edwin and Irma Wolf and Lynn and Betty Wineland, and of course, all of the T-Card season holders from this past season. So with that, I will turn the floor over to Daniel.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, as Marissa said, I'll be giving my talk here in just a second. Let me pull it up here and we'll jump right into it. All right. Press the share button. Press the present button. Okay, so today's talk is called, did that? Everyone still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good. My camera went dead and gave me a little bit of jitter there for a second. All right. So today's talk is called Rolling with Jesus. As Marissa said, it is a look at church artifacts across from across Wood County that were being kept in the museum archives here. So today's talk is dealing with a taboo subject for some, religion. Scary. We are going to be looking at it through an academic lens, though. Religion, whether we like it or not, plays a very important part in history. Today we're looking specifically at local history for Northwest Ohio. So you're looking and talking mostly about Christianity, and the church has a very important role to play in local history. Three of the biggest events in most people's lives are going to take place in or around the church. Most children went to the church to be christened after they were born. If you got married, you were expected to have that marriage in the church. And if you did not, it had certain connotations around it. And most everyone's funerals would be taking place in a church or a church setting. And a lot of people were buried in the yard outside of the church. That would be the academic answer. The more fun answer is we have a lot of cool stuff out here at the museum that I want to be able to talk about, but it's going to require a little bit of explanation before we can jump right into it. So that's what today's talk is going to hope to accomplish, is explain to you why I think some of these items we have out here are cool. First items we're going to talk about would be something that every museum, almost every museum across the country has plenty of. That would be, oh, never mind, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we got to define our terms. I'm going to be using a couple of these throughout the talk. Well, the two terms I have here. First one would be denomination. That is a big fancy word meaning the type or sect of church that a person or a denomination or a church identifies themselves with. A lot of common examples would be like the Lutherans, the Catholics, the Presbyterians, the Methodists, the Unitarians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For the most part, what we're talking about today, denominations doesn't matter. I'll be pointing out what denomination someone is, but for the common person, it really doesn't matter. And for the church, it really doesn't matter. Theologically, the churches agree on almost everything. 90 to 95% of what the church believes is held common across the board. It's mostly little things that different denominations have opinions on how it should be done, or slight nuances that are unique to them. A quite common foible of humanity across history is we focus on our differences instead of what makes us the same. And unfortunately, that's true with the church as well. The one small exception to that rule, we have a few items I'll be talking about today that are Catholic in nature, and they are unique because the Catholic Church is unique in that it is the oldest denomination by far from what we're talking about today. Wood County's Orthodox population is small enough to have not made an impact on the Historical Society's collection. They would be the other very, very old denomination. But since they are not, since we don't have those items in the collection, we're going to be focusing on a few Catholic things that are going to make that made my talk. But where was I? Oh, I was going to lead into my next point, talking about the Bibles. The museum has a boatload of Bibles, to put it lightly. Big ones, small ones, ones as big as your head. Some of my favorites are the little ones, like you can see sitting on top of the big Holy Bible there. That's the Dewdrop Bible. It is a collection of 365 verses for talking about 365 verses, all comprise little tidbits of wisdom and pick-me-ups. We have some Bibles that are designed to help people deal with grief that were given out by the funeral homes. Got pulpit Bibles, pew Bibles, you name it. We got a lot of them out here. The big Bible, though, that was on the last slide, and one that has at least 6 others in our collection here at the museum, would be the big family Bibles. Those were designed so that if your household could only afford one book, that was the one book that could encapsulate everything someone in Northwest Ohio or most of the United States would want. It had a dictionary in it, it had measurements in it, it had the Bible itself in it, and most importantly to historians and people looking to study genealogy, they would often have a large section in the front designed for you to record your family's history. When a baby is born, when somebody gets married, when somebody dies, there are ledgers for you to record all that stuff. I used to work in a bookstore, and every once in a while you get someone interested in genealogy looking to look through your old Bibles for that information, to record it. It is a helpful piece of material to help in history and genealogy research. There's also a few Bibles I would classify as Catholic. All that I mean by that is that they have what would be known as the books of Apocrypha. These are extra historical books that are not considered canon, but are important to studying history, that the Catholic Church views as important to keep. Protestants are a little mixed on them, but most biblical scholars think that they're important. We also have some German Bibles and I believe one Spanish Bible as well. Then we have the item that the talk is named after, the Cradle Roll. Museum has quite a few of those in their possession. I pulled for a picture Fairy Alder's Cradle Roll. I forgot the D on her name. Oops. Or no, I didn't. I'm pronouncing it wrong. Never mind. I was right the first time. Cradle rolls are a certificate that would have been handed out to a new parent, or I should say parents, as an opportunity from the church to offer to take care of the new child in the church setting. Parents don't get a lot of time to themselves, as everyone knows. So this would have been a guarantee that the church would be there to help. A guarantee that the church will be there to help take care of the child in a babysitting setting during Sunday worship and other church events. Um, this program got started in Camden, New Jersey in 1884 and is still running in some capacity. Even to this day, most churches offer a child care service in some way, shape, or form. For those first ones in 1875, they expected a $1 enrollment fee followed by 10 cents every year for the first 5 years the child was attending such a program. This gained some ire. Some people felt you shouldn't be charging for such services. Other people felt that it was sending the wrong message. But over time, those wrinkles have been worked out. And like I said, the program's still called this in some areas of the country, mostly the Deep South, things like that. But it was quite popular for a while, even up here in Northwest Ohio. We also have a Sunday school certificate, the Robert Rakes diploma. This would have been handed out for perfect attendance over a period of 7 years. It was meant to encourage children to show up every week and also helped kids be able to get into Christian colleges associated with their denomination, but it wasn't a guarantee on that case. It's called a Robert Rakes diploma because it is named after Mr. Rakes. He is considered the father of Sunday school. There were other people doing such programs before him, but he was the one who popularized it and really made it efficient. The term Sunday school comes from him using Sunday is, I should step back a bit. He would have been living in the same time period as Charles Dickens and other famous gentlemen from the Industrial Revolution in London. He was in London himself, and he looked around, saw a lot of depravity and crime and things he did not like, and figured that Christianity might be able to help with that by providing education on Sundays, which would be the one day off that all the people in his area would have had. He took the children aside and would encourage them to attend a school service that took place Sunday mornings. He had them all sit down and would offer them breakfast and lunch and have them educated for almost the entire day. He'd have some sort of classes going to teach literacy by using the Bible, and he had literacy, mathematics, and lots of other things as well. I have a quote, not from him directly. It was a strange little quote. John Carrick wrote a paper about Robert Rakes and summarized Robert Rakes' guiding principle. Ignorance is the root of degradation everywhere around us. Idleness is a consequence of ignorance. Idleness begets vice, and vice leads to the gallows. I think that sums up his opinion on the people of his day pretty well, that were not applying themselves. Mr. Rakes' church history has aged on him. Opinions on him and his methods have varied. During his day, he definitely helped a lot of people, but the way he went about it and his philosophy on it is not accepted as widely as it once was, would be the charitable way to put it. He's an interesting fellow to look into further, but we're going to keep moving on though. All right, now we're going to be talking about one of my favorite items from the collection here. I may have squealed with glee when I found it when I was looking through the archives, and that would be a crucifix pardon letter, pictured here alongside the church that I believe it was sent from. My French is not great, and this was a French church, so I did my best through my sources to try to locate it, and I believe that's the church. So the letter itself was sent to Dorothy Siraj from Toledo. My genealogy research did not turn too much up on her, but she was a resident in Toledo, and somehow her letter ended up at the museum. The letter itself was sent in the name of Pope Pius X, pictured here. Not a lot on that Pope either. He would have been in power right before World War I would have got started, and did not live too long to accomplish too much. But let me attempt to read off what I have here. This letter was sent from the Pious Union of the Pardoned Crucifix at M. Le Cure de l'Annonciation, 20 Rue La Porte, Lyon, Vas, France, January 15th, 1907. And I'm going to read directly from the letter here, just so we're all on the same page. So what this letter would have been, I guess I should start with that, is it would have been sent to Miss Siraj, containing a small crucifix necklace as pictured under the Pope and on his own person there. And this necklace would have come with the written instructions I'm about to read out loud. The person was expected to do what I'm about to read on a daily basis. You don't necessarily have to believe everything that I'm about to say. Like I said, this is a historical thing. I'm looking at this from a historical context today. I just find it fascinating from a historical perspective. So the letter goes as follows. These indulgences were granted by Pope Pius X.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's this, a headband out here? That finished?
These indulgences were granted by Pope Pius X to the Pious Union of the Pardoned Crucifix, the purpose of which is to obtain pardon of God and pardon to one's neighbor. Whoever carries on his person the pardon of the crucifix may thereby gain 300 days indulgence once a day. 2. For devoutly kissing the crucifix, 100 days indulgence each time. 3. Whoever one of the following invocations before this crucifix may gain each time an indulgence of 7 years and 7 quarantines. Our Father, who art in heaven, forgive us our trespasses as we may forgive them who trespass against us. And this is the second one. I beg the Blessed Virgin Mary to pray to our Lord, our God, for me. 4th, whoever habitually devout to this crucifix will fulfill the necessary conditions of confession and Holy Communion may gain a plenary indulgence on the following feasts: the 5 wounds of our Lord, the finding of the Holy Cross, the exaltation of the Holy Cross, the Immaculate Conception, and the 7 dolors of the Blessed Virgin. 5. Whoever at the moment of death, fortified with the sacraments of the Church, or contrite of heart, if unable to receive them, will kiss the crucifix and ask pardon of God for his sins, and pardon his neighbor, will gain plenary indulgence. This being sent out by the Pontifical Rescript, transcribed on June the 1st, 1905. Then the letter was reproduced and sent out to Miss Dorothy Siraj again on the 15th of January, 1907. I just find little bits like that fascinating personally, that this was sent out, and just the idea of it starting out in France, being transcribed to English, and then sent across to Toledo, Ohio. This necklace somewhere else, maybe a landfill, maybe still a cherished family possession, being of the Sirajas. I don't know, but it's just fun to think about if you ask me. Looking through my notes. So mentioned throughout that letter there would be indulgences. If I have any Lutheran viewers, listeners out there, their ears may have pricked a little bit. Indulgences were the issue that caused the Martin Luther back in the 1500s to break off from the Catholic Church. Indulgences were being misused by a group there. What the Catholic Church in the 1900s here would have meant by indulgences is a forgiveness, not of the sin itself, because that would have been what belief in Jesus would have done, but an indulgence is the forgiveness of the consequences for that sin, most likely carried out in the Catholic idea of purgatory, but that's a whole nother bailiwick that we're not going to be solving here today. Yeah, and that's all I had, was those items there. I have my sources cited. And then, as Marissa said at the very beginning, she said, thanked us. She thanked the sponsors, and I have them listed here as well.
All right, well, thank you, Daniel, for such an informative talk. Did anyone have any questions for Daniel? No questions? All righty. Well, if anyone does have any questions, you certainly can send myself an email, and I can make sure those get to Daniel. My email address is marketing@woodcountyhistory.org. Yes, and once again, thanks to everyone for joining us. We do have our next virtual history series program scheduled for November 18th. It's slightly different from the schedule we have been running on, just due to the museum having a county holiday on the second Thursday of the month. But all that information will be posted on our website at woodcountyhistory.org and on our Facebook pages, and you can check out the North Baltimore Public Library's website for information as well. Holly, I didn't know if you had anything you'd like to say in closing?
Well, we've recorded the Zoom, and we'll have it on our YouTube channel within the next few days. But thank you, Dana. That was very interesting. I really enjoyed the different size Bibles and all the cool facts.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, and hope to see you again next month.